Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the PuroRegal podcast here on the Slam Fam Wrestling Network. I, of course, am your host, the most wonderful, beautiful man in Midwest Independent Wrestling, from the neck up, Timothy Regal, joined, of course, by the leader of Ringside Chat, Mr. Gary Freeland. Gary, first off, I think we should thank everybody tuning into episode 2. We had the highest debut episode and the highest download total in almost 3 months for the Slam Fam for episode 1. So apparently people do like to hear us talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise for me. I was kind of surprised to hear that, and I was excited too because it makes me want to, come back and do this some more, and I'm not, boring everyone to death. So
absolutely. Obviously, it's been a busy few weeks since we recorded the first episode. Obviously, we recorded the first episode literally hours after New Year's Dash, and then immediately after that, the world was changed, I guess, as we have taken to saying. I got a lot of feedback last night at SCW Pro. I was wearing my brand spanking new All Elite Wrestling T-shirt, and I guess obviously, I know in the grand scheme of things in news, it's kind of old news, but we haven't discussed it yet. So just a little bit. Obviously, first off, what did you think of that AEW rally?
It's really exciting. It's nice to see another company kind of jump right into the fold here. It's really been missing in the wrestling community since WCW, really. So to see someone that has some financial backing and has already brought in some huge names like Chris Jericho and Pac, it's really exciting to see how it's going to kind of change the landscape.
Yeah, the best thing with Pac was did you see the Hangman Page Instagram where he said like just the picture of those two, Hangman and Pac, facing off, and then the first comment underneath is Marty Scurll saying, "You already got a new British friend."
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Poor Marty. Poor Marty. He's just sitting over there like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" I was super, super pumped when I got home that day. I was able to check out the rally. It was just cool as hell to see. And then obviously we got Cody, the Bucks, Hangman, and then of course the big news right at the end, you get Chris Jericho signing an official contract with All Elite Wrestling. And I think the biggest thing we have to ask is, what does this mean as of right now for New Japan? And I think, obviously right now, and I guess that kind of goes right into the second point of New Japan sticking with Ring of Honor right now rather than going to All Elite Wrestling. But obviously the big thing is they are contracted with Ring of Honor for the G1 Supercard show. So come the middle of April, I think there could be some movement on that. What do you think?
I totally agree. I was kind of confused as the internet's reaction to this because, yeah, they are in this deal with Ring of Honor. They have 20,000 fans coming to Madison Square Garden in April to work the show. They're not just going to back out of that now a month or two before the show and sign with All Elite. I imagine Ring of Honor sees All Elite as a competitor. They're not going to want to partner with them right now. So there's already some issues in regards to the All-In footage that I've been reading about the last couple of days. Who owns that? So, but I totally agree with you. I think New Japan, come the end of the year, is probably going to partner with All Elite, especially if the Kenny Omega rumors are true.
And obviously, it sounds like right now that it's kind of on a case-by-case basis because obviously the big one was Jericho. And Jericho on his own podcast said he still wants to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He called out Tanahashi. He still wants to work Tanahashi. He mentioned wanting to work with Jay White. And there's a lot on the table for Jericho in New Japan. And obviously, he's going to go wherever, he feels the most comfortable, where he wants to go and have matches, and obviously where he can make the most money for the time that he's got. So, I think there's gonna be certain cases where I think you're gonna see a guy like a Chris Jericho, where even if, say, the Bucks and Cody aren't going over for every New Japan show, you might see Kenny Omega in the future and Jericho and a few other people. They may be heading over to New Japan on a case by case basis. And then obviously you're going to see certain guys that are going to say, okay, what about, Okada coming over? What about, Tanahashi coming over? I think there's a case by case basis. Obviously, nothing is going to happen on that. I don't think we'll see any movement on that until at least middle of April after G1 Supercard, because they're going to be contracted into that. But I think it's really exciting to see where the future goes. I'm super just pumped up to see what they're going to give us going forward.
Did you see the Jericho podcast or listen to the Jericho podcast at all?
I did. I listened to the entire thing while I was sitting in a coffee shop and drinking coffee the other day.
Yeah, he really pushed that he wanted to work with Tanahashi. That's the feud he wanted coming out of Omega, and Gato pushed Naito on him, which ended up being an awesome feud. So I think he's kind of dead set on working Tanahashi. Yeah, it would not shock me at all for him to show up at the G1.
Jericho wants that match with Tanahashi, and I've almost, we'll get in. I'll hold off on where we're going, because that's going to come later in the show. I'm not going to spill the beans on my thoughts just yet, but Jericho definitely plays into, I think, where we're going to go over the next month as we kind of head through New Beginning and trying to figure out where we're going as far as the G1 Supercard. But you mentioned Kenny Omega, and that's the next topic. The Tokyo Sports interview with Kenny Omega, where he said he is, quote unquote, leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kenny said he is leaving New Japan. He needs a break, not just from New Japan. Said but also at the same time made comments that were very work-like, where he said he can't work under Tanahashi and he doesn't want to be the second fiddle guy. Obviously, I kind of feel like, there's definitely a work thing involved. Tokyo Sports has been used to push angles before. And I feel like I'm sitting here going, didn't we do this whole dance 2 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's keeping his options open. I mean, if we're talking about the Tokyo Sports Awards, they have a separate award for Foreigner of the Year, which he won. But he came in fourth in the Athlete of the Year, which is unheard of over there, that any Gaijin gets votes for that. So he's really been taken in as one of their own over there. So for him to leave, I think, is going to be incredibly difficult for him, which is all the more reason why I think this AEW New Japan deal comes together at some point this year, because they're losing, whether they want to admit to it or not. Jay White's not going to fill Kenny Omega's shoes in that spot. They can push him as hard as they want. And I like Jay White, and I think he's going to be a hell of a talent over there. But to fill that spot for Omega is going to be incredibly difficult for him, and probably a lot to ask of someone as young as him. So I think they're going to need him to come back at some point.
I will say this. I don't think Jay White is there yet. I think Jay White very much has the potential to get there. And like you said, I'm a huge Jay fan. But yeah, Jay can be a top gaijin, but he doesn't have what Kenny Omega has. There's never been a guy like Kenny Omega. People thought when AJ showed up that was the biggest that was ever going to get. And then Kenny took that and then made it one step further, becoming the first gaijin to win the G1, becoming, one of the longest running IWGP heavyweight champions, and headlining show after show and selling tickets in record numbers. And like I said, I think Jay is great, and I think that he is a star that they can build for the next God knows how many years. I'm sure, again, Jay's going to be another guy that, whenever contracts come up, other places are going to come knocking for him, and where does his future lie? Obviously, he's a New Japan Young Lion, so you kind of think that they have an inside track, but no, I definitely think Kenny Omega is a guy that New Japan needs, especially if they're going to continue still trying to have this Western expansion, still trying to run shows in the States. And obviously, like you said, you point to the G1 tournament show in Dallas. I mean, if you don't have Kenny Omega on that show, I mean, yeah, you're going to have Okada, you're going to have Naito, you're going to have Jay White, you're going to have Tanahashi. I am hoping and praying you're going to have Will Ospreay, Kota Ibushi. But Kenny sells a lot of tickets, and they got a lot of tickets to sell in that venue.
Mm-hmm. I think they're asking so much of Jay 10 years before they asked Kenny to do the things that he's doing. So while I agree with you on that, that Texas show in particular, they're going to need a Kenny Omega to really fill that building out. And to kind of, solidify that this is an actual, G1 show, because you can call it a G1 show and it be not. They've done that over here before, so.
Yeah. Good. I guess moving on from Kenny, there's been a lot of contract news. I think obviously the biggest one, Kushida officially announcing in a press conference that he is leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. Didn't say where he is going, but obviously the rumors are that there is a contract waiting for him in Orlando, Florida, very, very soon. And we'll get into the previews in a little bit, but final match, January 29th in Cork and Hall, a match that he said he dreamed and begged for. He's going to wrestle Tanahashi in his final match. That's going to be cool as hell to watch. I'm super excited to see. I think they're just going to go out there and just do something really cool. But the biggest thing, I think, the future of the juniors division without Kushida in it. Obviously, you have Taiji Ishimori, you've got Shingo, who I think is going to stick around as a junior a little longer than I think some people had hoped he would. And it sounds like we're starting to get some hints that we may see Hiromu sooner rather than later. So, and if that's the case, I mean, you still have a strong nucleus. I think the the best of the Super Juniors tournament this year is going to be really interesting because it's especially with wherever their working relationships lie, it could be really interesting to see what outside talent gets brought in and who's going to step up to take the spot that Kushida is leaving. Obviously, you don't have Liger in G1 anymore. I'm hoping and praying that if the rumors are true that the big announcement will be Hiromu is going to be in it, and then you put Hiromu in one block, Shingo in another block, and there you go.
That would be pretty amazing if he came back already from that injury.
It sounds like he is doing great. I've heard people have seen him not wearing a neck brace or anything, so obviously, hopefully that is happening. The other thing I've always kind of said is, do you think, obviously Kushida leaving, has he done all he can do, I think, at this point? Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
In the junior division, yes. Did you hear the rumor of him wanting to turn heel?
Really? See,
I think it was on Observer. So there was a rumor going around that he wanted to turn heel and join the Bullet Club as their junior ace. And this was earlier in the year before Ishimori came on board. He was going to be, Bone Soldier was the rumor.
That would have been interesting. I mean, we've never seen a heel Kushida, so it's like Kushida just has that baby face that he's just and has that natural charisma where you want to cheer him, and I've never seen him wrestle like a heel. It would have been interesting to see, but the thing with Kushida is, you look at a guy like Kota Ibushi, Finn Balor before him, Will Ospreay now. Obviously, Shingo can do it at any time, I think. You have guys that can jump up to being a heavyweight at certain points. Kushida wasn't going to be one of those guys.
No.
I've heard a lot of people say a never open weight title run would have been interesting, because technically it is an open weight belt. But I feel like he'd gone as far as he could go, and I mean, we'd seen it even early in the earlier part of the year where he was just kind of doing multi-man tags. Obviously, he got pushed back to the forefront due to the injury to Hiromu. I think, though, if he doesn't leave and go and maybe say, hey, I'm going to go over here and do this for a while, I think that's where all he's doing is working multi-man tags and treading water. I hate to say this, but he essentially turns into Ryusuke Taguchi.
Yeah, essentially. I think even with a never open weight title run, that only extends his time, a year there maybe. I'm actually kind of curious to see how WWE is going to use him. I'm pretty convinced that that's where he's heading. He's been talking them up for several months now, and he's always said that it was like a childhood dream to go to the WWE. I really hope they just don't bury him on 205 Live. I think he's a talent that could transition into the main roster. I hope he gets an NXT run. But if he does go to the main roster, I think he's like Ali. He could definitely work a style, especially on SmackDown, where you have smallerish heavyweights there that could make him an interesting mix.
I think with him, the thing is he loves Western culture. He's openly said that. He loves the trips he's made, and he's made, the extended trips, not just the Global Wars tours and stuff for Ring of Honor. So he loves being over here. Obviously, WWE is, kind of a dream of his. It's something he wants to do. I think they send him to NXT for at least for a brief time to help. And I think they kind of did that with they did it with Shinsuke. They did it with I think the original plan was Hideo Itami's NXT run was going to be much, much shorter until he got injured. I think they learned their lesson from Sin Cara, that sending these guys to Florida helps ease the transition, because there is a transition going to be involved. I think you see him make a brief NXT run and maybe be one of those guys kind of like an Elias, kind of like, where he doesn't, they don't give him the main event run, but they give him a little run on NXT and a little bit at the PC to help him transition, help him get acclimated. And then I think he goes to 205 Live. And I think now with 205 Live, with Ali kind of has changed the game now, I think, a little bit with 205. I think that if the cream rises, and if he's an exceptional talent, you can move him on to a SmackDown, and you could see, obviously, they've said we're going to integrate some of these guys into main roster, even if they're still on 205 Live, because Vince McMahon doesn't want to pay them to work four shows a month, which, honestly, as much as I may not like Vince, everything that they do, I can't blame WWE for that. I kind of agreed. And I think that, Kushida, definitely one of those guys who can do that.
Especially if at the end of the year when they move SmackDown to Fox, the idea is to make that a more sports-oriented program, which is essentially the New Japan model. So what not better talent to bring over for that than, their ace in the junior division for how long. So I really hope he gets a short run in NXT, because I think there's a lot of fun matchups there, but I think he would be a great, piece on SmackDown.
The other wild card theory I've seen people throw out there is, what if they're citing Kushida to be the ace of NXT Japan?
It wouldn't shock me. I don't think that's happening, but if they did that, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
My question with NXT, with the thought of an NXT Japan, is who are they going to get? Because everybody, you train in the dojo of where you go, and then you work for them, and there's, very few guys who, obviously Kushida was one of the handful who's jumped to another company. I think, obviously, we've had two major jumps to New Japan in the 3 or 4 years that I've been really heavily tracking, and those were Shingo and Sonata. So it's a different system where there's like, it's a good thing in theory, but who would they get? That's always been a question for me.
I guess my answer to that would be is they do the same thing they did with the UK indie scene where they, made these connections with a lot of the prominent indie promotions over there, and then eventually just gutted them out like they're doing with the UK.
They just swallow up Pro Wrestling Noah.
I guess. I mean, they're not exactly in financial, a financial stronghold over there as much as I like Noah. So, I mean, it wouldn't be like a complete shock if they would pull something like that off. I would hate that. I think that's terrible for wrestling in general, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Moving on, because we're getting off topic. This is
yes.
We're the train's running off the track. It's kind of like the other show I'm on this network. It wouldn't be a show with Timothy Regal if the train didn't occasionally go off the rail. Moving on. My next thing, Takashi Iizuka, who on episode 1 I buried.
Yes.
Has officially announced his retirement. There will be a special retirement show February 21st at Korakuen. And just kind of out of curiosity, I went back and I looked up Iizuka, and there's some stuff that I had either didn't know or forgotten. First of all, this guy debuted in New Japan in 1986 and has been wrestling for 32 years, pretty much nonstop, consistently. The only time that he had maybe 1 or 2 injuries that took him out for a little while, and then obviously the Suzuki Gun Noah Exile tour. But I had forgotten that he had wrestled in WCW in 1992 on Wrestle War as a partner to Tatsumi Fujinami. And trust me, if you're a new fan and you only knew Iizuka as the guy coming out on the leash and biting people, you go back and look at this guy comes out wearing hot pink tights, he's got hair, and he's actually a good-looking young guy. It's like, and he's jacked. I mean, obviously, he's still insanely jacked at 53 years old. But obviously, he's been winding down, slowing down. He had an injury last year that took him out for several months. But I mean, obviously, like I said, people, if you're a new fan, if you've only been around, like for me, since Wrestle Kingdom 9, where you've only seen, the Suzuki Gun stuff, people don't realize this is a guy who, especially in the early and mid 90s, was right at the top of the heap, wrestling like Sasaki and Chono and Fujinami. I mean, obviously big founding member of Great Bash Heel, and then one of the guys along with Yano who turned on Makabe and was original member of Chaos, and then turned on Chaos at the start of Suzuki Gun. So he's been a part of some stuff that people kind of have forgotten.
Yeah, and the guy could go. I mean, he was he's a much different worker now than he was in his years in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, he was kind of a technical wizard. He could really work. And it's, if you only know him from the last 5, 6, 7 years, and I mean, my really in-depth watching has probably been within that period of time, probably similar to yours. You can miss out on a lot of great stuff. And I completely forgot about that 92 Wrestle War. That was a good pull from you, because I completely forgot he was on that. I'm gonna have to go back and check that out.
I actually, if you get a chance, if you got the WWE Network at home, if you're listening to this, go back and check out that match, because it is stiff as hell.
Mm-hmm.
It is very stiff. It is very hard hitting. And I hate to say it, but I think very early on in the match, there's a point where somebody messed something up, and Scotty just laid into him with one. Not that Scott Steiner would have ever done that to anybody, but
no, never.
But no, obviously, the biggest thing we got coming up, starting here. Well, before we get to that, we're going to touch on the contract situation. Obviously, Iizuka's retiring. New contracts. Chase Owens signs a 1-year deal. Juice Robinson, 2-year deal, I believe it was, and then Rocky Romero with a 3-year deal. The biggest thing I think that you take out of that, a lot of people don't realize the importance of Rocky Romero.
Mm-hmm. That
he is essentially the American liaison. He handles a lot of stuff on the business end because, he obviously American. But he handles a lot more stuff than I think people realize. And that is and I know a few years ago, WWE tried to court him for a trainer role at the PC. and
Hmm.
I'm assuming that there was possibly that was probably on the table again for him. But no, he stayed with New Japan for 3 years, and that I think for them is a big get if they're going to continue Western expansion.
Yeah, you're not getting the Gaijin talent over there that they've been getting the last 5, 6, 7 years without Rocky. He's a huge part of that. And not only does he do that, I mean, they have him working as a manager. He does color over there. He has a lot of different hats that he wears, and I think he does a great job over there. I was really happy to see him stay.
Yeah, and my thing is, if you're not going to unless you're going to bring Excalibur over full time, I think Rocky is probably the best. I mean, obviously outside of Don, but Don is hardly ever there at this
Yeah.
point. Because I mean, he has other things. Obviously, he's running Impact Wrestling, and Don only shows up he only makes the big towns, brother. But no, I think I love when Rocky's on commentary with Kevin. They have a great rapport. So,
Mhm.
Juice obviously getting the 2-year deal, and we've seen that he's going to be a part of these New Beginning USA shows. Which, by the way, I was hoping by the time we recorded we would have cards for. Still do not have cards for these shows.
No. But if you look at the Japanese shows during the same period of time, you can kind of guess who's going to be on these U.S. shows, and it looks like Will Ospreay is going to be prominently featured on these U.S. shows because he is nowhere to be found on the Japanese shows.
Obviously, we got Juice, we have Best Friends, we have Will hoping for Ishii, because
I would imagine so.
Nagata is a possibility. I think Goto is a possibility. Doug Ritter, a good friend of mine, will be sitting dead center front row at the Nashville show. So I will be getting him on the line and doing an interview with him after the show to tack on either as a little mini episode or on the end of an episode. I haven't decided yet. We'll just kind of play it by ear. Probably just as a little mini episode recapping the show, giving an in-person perspective. But no, don't have full cards for those shows as of yet, but they're coming. And I think the one interesting, Chase Owens getting a contract, getting a 1-year deal, not getting the per appearance. Obviously, they see value in Chase. Chase is a guy that, I mean, originally they brought him over for a Best of the Super Juniors to be a Bullet Club guy in the Super Junior tournament, but has done a lot of stuff, and I think that he's a guy that you can throw in, especially in tags, whether it's with Yujiro. I'm kind of wondering if with him getting the contract, is there any chance that we get a Pimp Club, whatever they want to call him, IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team title run?
Why not? I mean, can it hurt? I kind of like Chase. He's really grown on me since he's been in New Japan. I wasn't a big fan of his before. And I thought, we were talking about color guys earlier, I thought he did a great job when he was given the opportunity to be color commentator on some of those English-speaking shows. So, I mean, try him out there.
It's funny because when Chase is doing commentary on Bobby Heenan impression, he's basically hitting all the Bobby Heenan one-liners, which I found to be quite entertaining. Hey, as long as you're better than Lanny Poffo to me, I think we should give you the job.
Oh, God. Yes.
Oh, God, that was painful. But no, I think it's going to be it's an interesting thing to see where guys wind up. But I think all good things, and I'm really interested to see what Chase can do now that he's officially a contracted guy. So,
yes.
So I guess we move on now. Obviously, the biggest thing we've got coming up. Well, real quick, have you watched any Fantasticomania?
Very little. It's been kind of crazy at work. It took us a little bit of time to get back for the second episode, but I have been following Fred Morland's post on my Ringside chat group, cheap plug, and he's listed some matches from that he's been watching, and I typically trust his opinion in regards to that. So if you want to check that out, I would definitely check that link out.
I'm actually up to the 2 matches from the first Korakuen show that he recommended. I have not got a chance to check it out. Now, New Japan World actually has the last 2 shows as a tour listed with English commentary, which that would be a first. So I'm kind of interested to see if it has English commentary, because part of the biggest thing for me is I enjoy watching it, but I don't follow Lucha and CMLL, so I like what is going on? Is there a story here? Why is it happening? I am really interested to see the My Dad is a Heel Pro Wrestler
Yes.
bonus match that is coming up. Where is it? Gujin Mask, the cockroach.
Yes, the cockroaches.
Is going to be wrestling, and Makabe's in this weird purple singlet, and I'm like, I have a feeling this is going to be nothing but gaga, but it's going to be hilarious. So they are doing that coming up on one of these shows this week. But yeah, there's a few more shows left on NJPW World. But yeah, I feel like I don't know Lucha enough to comment on it all that much.
Neither. I really struggle with watching CMLL and AAA in particular. I actually prefer the Luchas far more when they're outside of Mexico, when they're working the States or working in Japan, than I do their actual work in Mexico. To me, it translates a little bit better. I don't know if that's just, my own bias or whatever, but these shows are usually a lot of fun. And I think we were talking about filling out the junior side of things in regards to New Japan, and I think this would be a perfect partnership that they could lean on a little bit more than they do to fill out some of these cards. I mean, Mystico, Carlistico, Dragon Lee, Atlantis Jr. is just coming in and kind of getting his feet wet. I think there's a lot of talent in CMLL that they could, bring in for some of these.
It's Carlistico that used to be was the original Mystico, original Sin Cara, right?
Yes.
I've watched all of his stuff so far up to that first Corkin show, and I was actually watching it with a few of the guys at SCW Pro yesterday when we had some downtime, and we just got into a conversation of what happened. What happened there that it was a complete miss, because you watch him doing these matches in Corkin, and it's like on the Japan tour, it's like, wow, this guy is. And I mean, you saw it before before he went to WWE. It's like, this guy's great.
Yeah.
And then he went to WWE and it just tanked out. It just didn't work. But yeah, no, that guy is great. And I would love to see him. Obviously, you got Dragon Lee, you got Volador Jr., these guys that we've seen before that are absolutely. I mean, these guys are great talents. I mean, we're watching Ultimo Guerrero, who is again another guy that's in his 50s and can still go out there and just kill it every time. But so if you want to see some fun wrestling, if you got spare time, absolutely check out Fantastica Mania. It's definitely worth checking out. But coming up, I think the things that we're really talking about, New Beginning Tour. Starting it off, we've got 3 Road to New Beginning shows that are going to be on New Japan World, all coming with English commentary. I'm loving the fact that it's, we've come a long way from the days of getting the feeds from Samurai TV with no commentary and no graphics. Mm-hmm. Everything is getting English commentary now. Obviously a lot of stuff that, we have your usual Young Lions match, your New Japan Dads match. And we got, like Taguchi, Honma, Toru Yano, and Togi Makabe. What do you think? Is it official? Are the most violent players back at this point?
It seems like it. That's how they're booking this. I mean, it's really weird. It just kind of came out of nowhere, but it seems to be the case.
The most violent players seem to be back, and it's like at this point, is Chaos even still a thing?
I don't know. Who's even in Chaos anymore? And it feels like they have this like weird partnership with Tanahashi and Okada, which I'm just waiting for it to explode if the rumors about the G1 Supercard main event are true.
And then Makabe is, coming in and helping Chaos guys, which, Chaos, that they turned on him to form Chaos. When Great Bash Heel was a thing. So it's like, and now we've got Yano finally doing something where I'm like, okay, if we're going to get most violent players back, I'm all in on a Toru Yano run at this point. Mm-hmm. But now we've got, like I said, Taguchi, Honma, Yano, Makabe. They're taking on Ishimori, Chase, Tangaloa, and Tamatonga. Then we've got the your usual stuff. Yoshihashi and his big brother Okada taking on Yujiro and Fale. Then a couple things that we've got. The 2 main events of the first show on Monday. We've got I think it's Monday the 28th. Kushida teaming up with Tanahashi to take on Jay White and Gato. Well, I mean, there's 3 things in that match that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Could we not have thrown Ishimori into that one and put Gato in the tag or something?
For real. Yeah.
I mean, I get that you got to keep with the story, and Gato's gonna, follow Jay around and scream and yell and all that. But it's like, man, this match would be so much cooler if like Ishimori was in it. And then I am super excited for this main event of this show. It is your old school New Japan Elimination Tag Match. We've got LIJ, Shingo Bushi, Sonata, Evil, and Naito taking on El Desperado, Kanemaru, Taichi, ZSJ, and Minoru Suzuki. I love a good old school Korakuen Hall elimination match. And I think if you have not seen like a New Japan elimination match, it's not like a Survivor Series. If they throw a guy to the floor, they are eliminated. I gotta admit, when I started getting on the New Japan World and watching stuff, it took me a while to figure that out because we didn't have English commentary on any of those shows back then. But no, those matches are a lot of fun because it turns into this craziness and brawling and everybody's going nuts and fighting each other everywhere. And all the guys stay at ringside, so essentially they'll like brawl all along the outside to be like, okay, who's still actually in? Then we get to the following day, November, do you got anything on that card, Gary, other than what I kind of said?
No, I'm the same as you. I'm looking forward to that tag match. It's a really interesting concept that they use over there, and I was the same as you. I didn't really understand that concept at all, and it took me quite a bit of time before I figured it out. But yeah, if you haven't seen one of those matches before, absolutely check that one out.
Obviously, then we're going to the next night. We've got, again, a Young Lions match, which, Young Lions versus Tenzan and Nakanishi. They got Hanare and Taguchi versus Ishimori and Takahashi. Honma and the Most Violent Players. I keep wondering, what's this do to Honma if this is the case? Is he just kind of just going to be left out hanging at this point?
I think so. I think they're worried about his injuries, and he's more or less going to be just, multi-man tag team fodder at this point.
Kind of the not quite New Japan dad at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
And
New Japan uncle.
Yeah, versus they're going to go against God and Chase Owens. Then Yoshihashi and Big Brother Okada versus Bad Luck Fale and Jay White. Hey, Gary, who's taking the pin in that one, do you think?
Oh, God. I don't know.
There's Gary, there's only really there's 4 choices, but there's only one.
Yeah.
I'll give you 3 guesses, but you're only gonna need one on that. Who's eating the pinfall here?
I think that's what translates Yoshihashi translates into is eating a pin. Yeah.
Eating pin.
Yeah.
Is that's what a loose explosion is.
Yes.
Thank God we got rid of that gear. That didn't translate well in America.
No.
Then we get the same guys that are in the elimination match from the night before in a regular match, and then obviously the money match on this. You have Kushida taking on Tanahashi, and I think you're kind of that's the thing you're going to look at there.
Yeah. I was kind of talking about the rumor about him wanting to turn at some point. If he was staying and you really wanted to turn him, that would be the perfect match to do it in, especially if they played the story the same way they've been playing it, that this is his last match and he wanted to work with this person that he respected. I think that would be a cool way to turn him, but I know it's not going to happen, but that's just me fantasy booking.
I don't think they would have gone through the trouble of the press conference if he wasn't leaving. So
he's definitely gone.
Yeah, but then we're getting a show that is, and I was kind of surprised with this. There's a show that is a non-Korakuen road to. We're getting a show from Sendai, and I think the one thing on this is we are getting a main event on this one of a never open weight 6-man title defense Ishimori, Tangaloa, and Tamatonga taking on Taguchi and the Most Violent Players. Are we going to get a title switch? Are the Most Violent Players and Taguchi? Are we going to rugby the never open weight belts?
Oh God, I hope not. I mean, I kind of like keeping that 6-man title on the Bullet Club right now. It kind of solidifies them as a faction. I hope it's not some screwy Yano crotch shot roll up finish, and they do a flash title change just to do it. They tend to do that with some of their tag belts, so I'm kind of hoping they get a nice long run with the 6-man tags.
The other thing we got there, you get the big three of each side in a 6-man. You got Sonata, Evil, and Naito versus ZSJ, Minoru Suzuki, and Taichi. Our Taichi, of course, our Lord and Savior. But no, three Road 2 shows that I think are gonna all be decent, if not good. Obviously, you've got your Tanahashi match, your with Kushida, but I'm looking forward to all of those. But I guess then we get starting, of course, we get the weekend, Saturday, February 2nd, and Sunday, February 3rd, and again going on the same time as the New Beginning in USA shows that we do not have cards for, which Doug Ritter said, I bought a front row ticket. I don't know what I'm getting, but I bought a front row ticket for it. And the first show is they didn't call it a Road 2 because it's in Sapporo, but it's kind of you got Young Lions matches, Tiger Mask and Tenzan versus Taka and Iizuka, so one of Iizuka's last matches. Then you get the 10-man with Bullet Club versus all the other guys. The same guys they've been working on the tour. Shingo, Bushi, and Naito versus Despi, Kanemaru, and Taichi. Then we do get some, I think kind of this is where the card for this one stands out.
Yes.
Singles match, Sonata versus Suzuki. That's great.
I'm really excited for this one. I'm a big Minoru Suzuki fan. I would like to see him get more of a push to me, in regards to their U.S. expansion. I think he would be a perfect fit for that. That he's really over here. I've seen him live in the United States. I obviously I can't imagine he's going to score a win here, but I think it's going to be a great match. It's a nice, single Sonata match too, which I think would be nice for him to break off and be a singles guy too. But
yeah. Then you got Evil and ZSJ in a singles match. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think Evil is one of just so criminally. He's in the Ishii category for me, where he's so underrated. I feel like this is a guy who, and I always go back to the in Ring of Honor Watanabe just doing absolutely nothing on his excursion, and then he goes back and it's like, oh great, Watanabe's here, and then he just, now you look at, especially like some of his G1 runs. So whenever we get Evil in a singles match, I'm exactly, and this actually goes back to the was it Dominion when he was supposed to? Yeah. And then Jericho came out and beat the crap out of him, so the match never actually happened. So these two finally going to go in a singles match, and I think that's going to be a match really, really good. And I will never get tired of watching Zach just put people in submission hold after submission hold and stretching them into all kinds of weird directions.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a main event. This again, Okada and Tanahashi, the original Odd Couple, taking on Fale and Jay White. Obviously, this whole card just kind of, it's got a little bit more special than what your average Road 2 shows would, but splitting Dominion, New Beginning, and Sapporo to 2 nights, and it just, obviously be a good tag match main event, but it just kind of feels like a more of a glorified Road 2, does it not?
Yeah, I agree, and you're also splitting it across 2 countries, because they're going to have shows in the United States that same weekend. So you're splitting your roster in 2 parts, almost 3 parts if you count it, because it's Sapporo those 2 nights now. Yeah, it does feel kind of they're maybe stretching themselves a little thin in regards to that.
Yeah, so we go to night 2 the next night on February 3rd. Again, kind of kicking off the same way. You have your Young Lions, New Japan Dads versus Young Lions. A lot of Nakanishi on this tour. I'm sure somebody is excited for that. Somebody somewhere. I mean, if you're a Nakanishi fan, Thomas Montgomery will listen to this on about a 6-month delay, and then I will get an angry text message from being saying, "Who are you to doubt Nakanishi?" You get there's an interesting one. Narita teaming with Tenzan versus Iizuka and Taka Michinoku. Again, Young Lion. It's always interesting when you get the Young Lions about the 4th match in, and they're teaming up against 3 regular guys. Obviously, they've got huge high hopes for Ren Narita. I kind of wonder. It's like, who's the next? Is it going to be him that goes? You think for the next excursion?
Yeah, I think so.
I kind of wonder because, I mean, and obviously we've heard that things have gone less than stellar in CMLL for Kawada.
Yeah, not so great.
That
doesn't, but like we were talking about earlier, that doesn't necessarily equate to how successful they're going to be in New Japan. Some of the most recent group, I think some of their excursions weren't, exactly stellar, and they've come back and been big pieces of New Japan's plans since they've returned. So,
yeah. But then obviously you have your Taguchi most violent players versus Bullet Club 10-man type thing. You've got Okada and Tanahashi adding Yoshihashi to the team versus Fale and Jay adding Chase Owens. So Yoshi or Chase is going to get pinned.
Yes.
But then your big matches on this show, we've got your IWGP Junior Tag, Shingo and Bushi versus Despy and Kinemura. What do you think? Are they retaining, or Despy and Kinemura getting the titles back?
I'm hoping they retain. They've really bounced this title around quite a bit as well in the last couple years. So I'm a fan of keeping the belt on people for a good long while. So, and I think Shingo and Bushi as a team, I really like them as a team. So hopefully they remain the champions.
We really need some new blood in this junior tag division.
Yeah.
I feel like there's 3 teams in this division at this point. There's the Shingo and Bushi, there's Desperado and Kinemura, and then there's Roppongi 3K. And it's like I'm just waiting on assuming. I'm assuming at this point Sho and Yo probably going to be on the New Japan New Beginning USA tour because they are also not on these cards at all.
I would imagine so, yeah.
So very interested to see who wins that match and kind of where they go with those junior tags. And I know we've talked about it before. I've kind of always been advocating for should we just merge tag teams should they just become open weight belts, and should there just be one tag team division, which I think I would love to see a Sho and Yo versus Sonata and Evil, or a Bushi and Shingo versus ZSJ, Minoru Suzuki type deal. So I think that merging the tag team divisions, if they ever do it, actually is a good thing, because there's too many belts, and if we're only going to have 3 teams in a division, why have it?
I totally agree. I don't think there's enough tag teams across wrestling in general to have as many tag team championships as there are. So, yeah, I'm all for merging in New Japan. And I think I love, in particular, smaller-ish tag teams facing these giant heavyweight teams. One of my favorite matchups in NXT was AOP against DIY. So I think that they really seem to mesh well. So I'd really love to see some of the potential matchups that they could do if they would merge these titles.
I'll take it back even further, man. We'll go back and watch the Rockers versus the Twin Towers at Mania 5.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Just 2 little guys taking on 2 big dudes, and it works so well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you got athletic guys like Roppongi 3K and Bushi and Shingo who could just have great killer matches with some of these heavyweight teams. And I mean, obviously, you don't have a team like the Bucks who can come in and prop that division up. So I wonder who. But Now, next match, we move on to the big heavyweight tag team title match. Sonata and Evil taking on ZSJ and Suzuki. I think we're getting new champs here.
I'm kind of hoping we get new champs. I think it would be, as much as I like Sonata and Evil as a team, I would like to see them get more singles pushes this year for both of them. They're both incredibly talented, and they haven't really done much with Minoru recently. He's been more or less cannon fodder. So I think getting him focused was Zack Sabre Jr. and having a nice run as the IWGP Tag Team Champions would be great for them.
Well, yeah, and then we get ZSJ and Suzuki as the IWGP Tag Team Champions. They are the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Tag Team Champs.
That's right.
And ZSJ is the British Heavyweight Champion of Rev Pro. So Zach becomes Zachy 3 belts again. Which I mean, obviously that's always a great image. You get somebody coming out with, like, the belt around their waist and the two belts slung around their shoulders. Yes. And then Taka just comes out there screaming promos, and I think that would be a lot of fun. So then your main event for the Intercontinental title, Tetsuya Naito taking on our Lord and Savior Taichi. Oh God! Please tell me we're not getting a new champion.
It depends what they're going to do with Naito. I think it would not shock me if they switched here, for the simple fact that if they want to push Naito into the main event picture, so to speak, then are they going to keep the strap on him? I can't see that. So, I mean, as much as I would not want Taichi to win, it would not surprise me at all if he did.
Oh God! Again, there's a part of me that almost wants to see Taichi win just to watch wrestling Twitter burn. I feel like there's a certain section of the audience. As much as I make jokes about Taichi, I don't hate him as much as there's some people that absolutely downright hate that guy. So
there's far worse in New Japan, and a Taichi Intercontinental title run is not going to kill that belt by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, it's not like we're giving the belt to David Finlay, so
yeah.
Then we get the final show of the New Japan tour, February 11th in Osaka, Japan. And I feel like this show is kind of a show that you feels bigger, because obviously you don't have your guys doing the U.S. tour. Like, you get Liger on this show, open it up with Kojima and with Tenkozy versus Taka, Iizuka, and Suzuki. I do find it interesting you have Sonata and Evil versus a Young Lion team.
Yeah, it was an odd matchup.
Yeah, Sonata and Evil taking on Yoshida and Umino. So, kind of wonder is that a match where they're just putting them in that to get their heat back? Kind of feels like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Then we have Shingo, Bushi, Naito taking on Despi, Kinemura, and Taichi. So everything kind of keeps going full circle there. And again, we talked about does chaos exist anymore? And then we got this match: Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi versus Yoshihashi and Tomoyaki Honma.
It's weird.
So does chaos not exist anymore? Is it just, are we all just one big happy New Japan army now?
It's kind of what it feels like. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I was never the biggest chaos fan to begin with. I know that's probably gonna get me ripped apart in certain sections of the internet, but it always felt like a very mismatched group in general. So if it kind of just disappeared, I wouldn't be all that upset about it. And I honestly don't think Okada needs it anyway.
Well, my thing is with chaos, it was always by the time I got into New Japan, like I've said, I started watching essentially heavily at Wrestle Kingdom 9. It's like, is chaos babyface? Are they heels? I mean, they de facto turned babyface when, I guess, because they started fighting the Bullet Club, and then Suzuki Gun. It's like, but yeah, the stable was never overly well defined, especially in the post Shinsuke Nakamura era.
Yes.
And then obviously there was such an albatross of a thing of and I'm doing my hand thing. Okada up here being the top guy, and then we're going all the way down to your Yoshihashis and your Toru Yanos of the world. So yeah, it's like I feel like we're just kind of slowly kind of phasing chaos, obviously out the door, and just kind of everybody's New Japan Army now.
And what no better way to get Jay White over than to have him destroy Okada's faction,
which essentially is what Jay White said that he was going to do from the very beginning when he said, "I'm coming after your belt. I'm taking your stable. I'm taking everything." And he didn't necessarily take the leadership of Chaos, but he essentially burned it down.
Yeah.
To paraphrase, a friend of mine. And I asked earlier, and then now we get this match. And again, I wrote these notes like a week ago, so I kind of forgot some stuff. The Gorillas of Destiny taking on Toru Yano and Togi Makabe. So we do have a Most Violent Players versus GOD in what you would assume is a number one contenders match at this point.
I would think so, and quite honestly, if we get a serious Yano in this match, it's kind of a sleeper match on this card to me. I don't mind serious Yano.
Go. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Go back and watch the first couple G1 matches where he did the I'm gonna wrestle and I'm gonna be serious Yano. Those are great matches.
Yeah.
And if you got New Japan World, go back and watch a few Most Violent Players matches, and that is a very different Toru Yano than what we get in what we had in like the last few years.
Absolutely. That being said, I think God goes over in this match, especially if it has title implications. I can't see them handing Yano and Makabe another match. Maybe it depends, I guess. If it's Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. the champs at this point, maybe they do sneak a win here, but I don't know.
The thing is, especially if you have heel champions, I do see the babyface team winning, and I think the thing is too, that's a fresh team that hasn't been in the division for a while.
Also true.
We complain that there's no fresh teams, and they're an old team that's coming back together, but they're a fresh team, especially to your modern audience that's been in New Japan since the start of Western expansion. So I absolutely think there is a chance for that to happen. Now, then you get your next match. You have Ryusuke Taguchi versus Taiji Ishimori for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Ishimori's gonna defend his title. That's what's happening here.
Taguchi's cannon fodder at this point for this. I mean, it's.
Now I will say this for Taguchi: when he wants to, he can put on a good match, and he can, when he's not doing the ha gaga, I'm wearing a duck on my head to the ring, or I'm gonna pretend I'm a rugby player, or a jazz singer, or God knows what else, or Doc Brown. I don't, and trust me, I don't mean to bury Taguchi. I actually like Taguchi. And I always point to this. Go back to that Super Junior run from a couple years ago and watch that final with Ospreay.
Yeah. Or any of his work with Devitt.
Yeah. He can. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I watched an Apollo 55 match. I think it might have been the night before Wrestle Kingdom, and I'm like, man, he can really work. What happened? But no, I think Taguchi gives a good. These guys have a good match, but obviously this is to get Ishimori over. I don't see Ishimori losing this belt, at least until Dominion.
At the very earliest, yeah.
I think he does your usual junior heavyweight champion in the Super Junior, where he probably loses, gets upset maybe once or twice, loses on the final night to get knocked, or somebody upsets him on the final night to get knocked out, and then he faces the winner of the tournament. If it's Hiromu, which we all kind of assume, a Hiromu Ishimori match at Dominion would be huge. And obviously you're going to have some big matches because obviously something kind of I think people may have already forgotten, your Best of the Super Junior final, that's in Ryogoku. That's at Sumo Hall. They're going to the big venue, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Best of the Super Junior shakes out. I still got you?
Yeah, you still here?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
You froze up on me for a second. Okay, so moving on, and we'll just don't worry. Yeah, editing for we'll edit that out.
I'll leave it in. Whatever.
No. I'll do the Alex McCarthy editing, which is where you don't edit anything. Up next, we have a special singles match. Okada taking on Bad Luck Fale. I will say one thing for this match, from what we've seen in G1s and things in the various past, Okada always gets really good matches out of Fale. So if we're going to get a really good Bad Luck Fale match, this is going to be it.
Mm-hmm.
I had said a few years ago that I was waiting for the breakthrough Bad Luck Fale, and well, I'm just going to say it. I'm still waiting, and I'm probably going to wait forever. But
he's a good heater. That's his role.
And this is a match that obviously, Fale, has been beating him down, helping Jay, and obviously Okada is going to come out since he can't go after Jay because Jay's in the main event. He's going to take out Jay's, Fale is the underboss. His role has always been consistent, whether it's Devitt, whether it's AJ, whether it's Cody, whether it's Kenny. His role has always been consistent in that role. So, and like I said, Okada, Fale always have decent matches. So we'll see. I think Okada, obviously, you see Okada go over there, and then you who knows? I'm here we get to it. Tanahashi, Jay White. Gary?
I think Tanahashi retains. As much as I think Jay White is going to be an IWGP champion probably within the next year, I don't think it's happening in Sapporo, especially with the G1 coming up in Madison Square Garden. I just don't see them pulling away from Tanahashi in the main event there. I actually, if I'm going to make a real bold prediction, I think Jay White wins the G1 this year. I think he gets his title match at Wrestle Kingdom next year, and that's where they crown him. But
I'm gonna go bolder.
Okay.
I've talked myself into this. I think Jay's winning.
Okay. How did you talk yourself into it?
I just keep thinking and looking at where what's Tanahashi doing going forward, or what's Okada doing going forward. I've talked myself into the fact that I think Jay White is winning this. I think Jay White is winning the title. I think he is going to face the winner of the New Japan Cup at G1 Supercard, and I think that's going to be Okada, and I think Okada's going to win the belt. It's kind of hot potatoing the heavyweight title, but I feel like I kind of think that's where we're going to go.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. That being said, I would, for his long-term viability, I almost hope it doesn't. I think they've kind of, like I think I said this last episode, they kind of hot-shotted him the first year. He's already beat all their top guys. To put the strap on him already, I don't know. I think I would wait another year. You have a whole another year. He pushes Tanahashi to his limits. He doesn't quite get the job done, and then has another great run in the G1, and maybe he gets crowned next Wrestle Kingdom, maybe not. But it wouldn't shock me it absolutely wouldn't shock me if he wins here, especially with Gato's backing now.
And of course, now that I've said it, I'm almost sitting here going, yeah, but I think, oh no, he's not going to win it, and then literally you think, but what if? But yeah, he is going to win it because this is going to happen and that's going to happen. I'm really, really interesting to see how, obviously, it's got everybody kind of, like I said, I feel like if you talk to a lot of New Japan fans, you're going to get a lot of different opinions. So I feel like if the booking keeps you guessing, that's what you're doing. You're doing it right. So Gato and his, infamous notepad
Yes.
You've heard the story of the Gato notepad, right? That
Yeah.
apparently he has 2 years of booking plans. Like, he books like 2 years in advance, and he has basically a notepad that, like, I'm guessing he sleeps with under his pillow that, like, only he sees. It's like, I just once I'm like, is there any way I can, like, get a look at that book for just a sec to see what's no, Gato, an old school booker, man. He's writing it down in a notebook. I always used to say from SCW, from my time at SCW Pro and all that you can when you're, especially when you're doing it with professional wrestling, you can write a card on a computer screen in a word processor program. You can print it. You can put guys' pictures on it, and it doesn't matter because something will happen. And then right before the show, you basically say, yeah, burn every copy that we made of that because this guy didn't show up, or this New Japan states this guy signed a contract over here and now we don't have him. So you take a legal pad and just start scribbling. And so Gato was doing it the old school way where he has basically a notepad and just scribbles stuff down. I love it. Memphis Gato, as I occasionally like to call him. But no, Gary, I think we've episode 2, obviously New Beginning. We'll be back after New Beginning for episode 3 and maybe episode 3, probably episode 3.5, I guess I'm gonna call it, where we'll get Doug Ritter on the line and he will give us the New Beginning USA front row fan experience. Obviously I've already kind of leaned on him. I'm like, if Yuji Nagata's on the show and they're doing meet and greets and you don't get a picture with Yuji Nagata, you're not doing wrestling right.
No.
So obviously I'm super excited. Have you heard anything about New Beginning USA show TV?
No, nothing.
That is very interesting that it's not listed on New Japan World. Obviously, like I said, it's going on the same time as the other stuff. So I'm thinking eventually we will get tape delay.
Probably on Axis.
Or is that going to be an Access and then we get New Japan World after Access? Because I do want to see these shows. Obviously, did you see real quick something I just thought of? Did you see the LA Dojo Young Lions are going to be working Ring of Honor?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, the LA Dojo Young Lions are going to be working Ring of Honor, and they are going to be a part of the Tag Wars tournament.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we're finally going to get to see a little bit more of and God, I cannot remember their names of the guys who are training with Shibata at the LA Dojo, which apparently, from what I've been told, is a very impressive facility. So.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Zicky Dice, actually has done some of the training camps, so he's given me some reports. But no, it's so obviously G1. Real quick, what did not necessarily New Japan related? What did you think of Lifeblood? Have you seen that video yet?
I did. Kind of a really mismatched kind of group. I'm curious. I understood where they were going with it after I listened to the Juice promo, and kind of to tie us back to the beginning of the show when we were talking about relationships with Ring of Honor, New Japan, and AEW. I mean, to invest in Juice like that makes me think that maybe that relationship is a little stronger than I initially had thought. Because
and David Finlay.
And David Finlay, yeah. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious. I am kind of hoping that group transitions into New Japan and works some New Japan shows simply because I want to see Tracy Williams and Zack Sabre Jr. and I want to see Bandito and Will Ospreay kind of square off. I think those would be awesome matchups to see.
Tracy Williams would be an interesting Best of the Super Junior guy.
He would.
Because he works that submission style. The guy that I really, really, really want for Best of Super Juniors is Jonathan Gresham.
I love Jonathan Gresham. I can't say enough nice things about Jonathan Gresham. He works a local indie. I actually worked last night. Dropped a super indie title for the company there. But he has put on some outstanding matches in this company, IWC, and I think he is just missing the ability. I don't think he's a great talker, but I think if you stuck a manager with him, I think he would be fantastic. And honestly, in New Japan, you don't necessarily even need that. So, but I totally agree. I think he would be fantastic over there.
I will tell you, if you haven't seen it, there is I know it was on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it still is. There is a match of a very young, very green Jonathan Gresham taking on Tyler Black in one of Tyler's last IWA Mid-South appearances before signing. And they had an absolute barn burner of a match. And I've been a Gresham fan. I've been on the Jonathan Gresham train a lot longer than some people. And then it was like, he kind of went and worked for East Coast Indies and kind of just like went off the radar for a little bit in the Midwest, as far as Midwest goes, and then showed up in Ring of Honor. But no, I'm a huge fan of him. I would love to see him in the Best of Super Junior. I know everybody's kind of beating the drum for Bandito. So if the Ring of Honor relationship continues, that would be interesting. I've also said, any chance we could get maybe a couple of the OWE guys to come over to New Japan for a Best of the Super Junior run? I saw, I was scrolling through my Twitter feed earlier, and our good guy who worked here in the Midwest, Rekka, who was on a DDT excursion and then went back from excursion and then went to Hong Kong for OWE. So he teamed up with Shima, and I'm like, I've got to see this because I'm also of the opinion at this point that I think Shima's a vampire, because I don't think he's aged in 15 years. And I'm really excited to see him as a member, because he's going to be they're obviously working with All Elite, so I'm super excited to see some Shima in the future. But no, I think that's about it for this episode. Everybody enjoy New Beginning. Of course, don't forget to follow the show on social media at PuroRegal Pod. Follow the Slam Fam Wrestling Network at Slam Fam WREST. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Tell us how great we are, or tell us, hey, these guys just drone on for an hour and a half. But if you're listening, I'm hoping you're still enjoying it. Gary, you got anything?
Come talk with me at Ringside Chat on Facebook. I don't really do Twitter. I'm going to try to do Twitter. But yeah, that's kind of where my home is Ringside Chat in regards to wrestling. So if you want to come talk to me about, other things other than New Japan, that would be the place to do it.
All right, guys. So that's it. We'll see you in early February. I'm going to hope it's a little bit warmer the next time we talk, because holy crap, it's cold. But everybody enjoy New Beginning. We'll see you later.